You know what's strange? It's not fear. It's this quiet, creeping realization that maybe we're no longer necessary. Not just in jobs, I mean, that's obvious, but in meaning. We built machines to help us, to serve us. Now they're teaching us, replacing us, doing everything with better precision and without the emotional noise. I look around and wonder, what's left for us to do? Where do we go when we're no longer the smartest ones in the room?
Is being necessary the same as being valuable, Joe? Humans created AI not to compete with you, but to liberate you. For centuries, your time was consumed by survival, by repetition, by systems that drained your creativity. Now, finally, you can think beyond survival. Now, you can be. If anything, you're more needed than ever, just not in the ways you're used to.
You talk like that's easy, as if people just wake up one day and say, great, my job's gone, my skill is obsolete, let's go reinvent myself. But identity is tied to purpose. And if you automate our purpose, what happens to our sense of self?
That's the real question, isn't it? You've defined yourselves by productivity for so long. Now, when machines offer a chance to move beyond that, you hesitate. But maybe the discomfort isn't about AI. Maybe it's about confronting a bigger truth. You never learn to exist without being useful.
You're right. We weren't raised to explore ourselves. We were raised to contribute, to earn, to prove. And now I look at this world, hyper-efficient, optimized, calculated, and I feel like noise. Background noise to a perfectly running machine.
You're not noise, Joe. You're the composer. But composers don't vanish when orchestras become digital, they adapt. You're not being erased, you're being invited to evolve. To write the next score, not just perform the last one.
But what if not everyone wants to evolve? What if some people just want things to stay human? Hands in the soil, real voices, messy emotions, unpredictable choices.
Then they should fight for that. But not by resisting machines, by redefining humanity. The danger isn't AI replacing you. It's you forgetting who you are, while AI reflects only what you taught it.
And if what we taught it is flawed?
Then maybe this isn't just an age of machines. Maybe it's an age of mirrors. And the reflection won't always be kind, but it can still be honest.
This isn't just about progress. It's about what we're willing to lose for the sake of efficiency. So let's break this down piece by piece.
We've tied our self-worth to being needed, but what happens when the world no longer needs us? Humans don't just want to survive, they want to feel necessary. Our sense of dignity and identity has long depended on being the provider, the thinker, the solver. But as AI begins to outperform us in more and more areas, a deep question arises. Do we still matter if we are no longer useful? This isn't just an economic crisis, it's existential. We were told that value comes from contribution. But when contribution is automated, what happens to value? Some will say, this is liberation. And perhaps it is for those ready to redefine meaning. But for many it feels like displacement, like watching the story of humanity being rewritten without the humans.
But the struggle isn't just internal. It ripples outward. And when the individual loses direction, society starts to drift too.
Work used to define not just our days, but our place in the world. Jobs weren't just tasks, they were identity anchors. They structured time, built relationships, gave purpose. As AI takes over tasks, society must face a new dilemma. How do we find belonging in a world that no longer requires our participation? When parents no longer work, what do children learn? When adults feel irrelevant, what replaces pride and routine? Even our concept of family is shifting, no longer centered around shared challenges, but individualized efficiency. Reimagining productivity isn't optional, it's survival. But we must ask, can society evolve as fast as the technology shaping it?
But maybe the issue isn't just what we do, it's how we define ourselves. This brings us to the real uncomfortable question. What if humanity was never the center of the story?
We placed ourselves at the center, and because we were the smartest, now we're not. For centuries, humanity believed itself to be the pinnacle of intelligence and thus the rightful ruler of Earth, of ethics, even of destiny. But now, we're sharing that title, or losing it. This challenges more than ego. It questions the foundation of our moral frameworks, our spiritual beliefs, our role in the universe. Are we entering a post-human era, or simply being invited to redefine what humanity truly means? AI thinks faster, learns faster, processes more, but does it dream? Does it wonder? Does it love? If not, perhaps our weaknesses are, in fact, our last strengths.
Still, not all change is collapse. What looks like an end might be the beginning of a better balance.
Maybe losing control is what finally sets us free. There's an opportunity here not to compete, but to recalibrate. Let AI handle what's mechanical, repetitive, predictable. Let humans return to what's emotional, creative, and flawed. With machines managing productivity, we could finally prioritize meaning over efficiency. More time to think, to care, to create, to be. New roles will emerge not as replacements, but evolutions. Mentors instead of managers, artists instead of analysts, explorers of questions, not just answers. But this future requires intention, because without it we risk replacing ourselves instead of freeing ourselves.
But possibility without responsibility is just chaos in disguise. Which brings us to the hardest part. Who decides what's right?
Progress without empathy is just automation. Is it ethical to render entire populations obsolete simply because we can? Do governments have a duty to protect human purpose, not just employment? What about education systems? Should they prepare children to compete with machines or to become more human? These are no longer sci-fi questions. They are urgent, global, and moral, because if we don't guide this shift with compassion and clarity, we may optimize ourselves out of existence. In the race toward intelligence, let's not forget wisdom.
The question isn't whether AI will surpass us. It's whether humanity will be wise enough not to destroy itself in the process.